with AI, especially with the advance and the increased adoption of AI across the world today, there's so many ethical considerations that are so important, not just to certain people in society, but to everyone. Generative AI is like the latest buzzword in AI, right? It was launched last year in October with the advent and introduction of ChatGPT. And prior to that, we did not have generative AI. There were talks around it. There were talks around large models and talks around their benefits and potential limitations, but we didn't have any application to work with. And then all of a sudden, ChatGPT came out, and that's when the AI arms race kind of started. And we had ChatGPT, we had DALL-E, we had Imagine, we had Midjourney, we had Stable Diffusion models, and all of these are just a good amalgamation of AI put together. So AI with different models and modalities, being able to come up with an output as one single entity. Now with generative AI, it has so much benefits for businesses, right? It helps with improved decision making, it helps with personalized customer experiences, it helps with predictive analysis and improves that, and so on and so forth. So I think for any business who wants to integrate generative AI into their business, I think it's important to understand what it is first and how it can be used for your business. If you have a business problem you're trying to solve, you have to be aware of what sort of generative AI application will work for you at this point in time, right? Generative AI has kind of like advanced with large language models, and we have text to image prompts with the likes of Midjourney. But beyond that, it's still a very new and nascent technology. So there's not a lot of applications that you can use today beyond the new advent of like Google's cloud programs, or we have Microsoft's Copilot, which helps with your different business applications that you use for these different companies and kind of like brings all of them together. It can help you like summarize text messages, and it's really meant to help make your work more efficient and better and help with productivity. And that's where the generative AI applications come into play. But it's very important to educate yourself first, educate your business and your human resources, what it is, what you need it for, and how to integrate it. Yeah, so that's my favorite topic, right? Responsible AI and ethical AI. I recently published a book called Building Responsible AI Algorithms, and I did put a few principles in there. I think the main thing around ethical AI is making sure that AI is beneficial to people in society, to the human beings in society that they're really built for, and it doesn't inflict any form of harm or damage to people, either psychologically, mentally, physically, or otherwise. So that's a major principle of ethical AI. And when you look at responsible AI, which is really the implementation and the practical side of ethical AI, you want to think about different things around biases, right? You don't want to reinforce any social biases or societal biases in your AI applications. You don't want it to have any adverse impacts and effects on people from protected attributes or characteristics, people from underrepresented groups or minority groups. You want to make sure that your data is inclusive and diverse, and it is secure. Your data is kept securely. You have proper data curation methods. How do you harvest your data? Are people's human rights being infringed upon? Is data being just bought up from third-party agents without any form of data ethics being implemented and added to your data curation methods? There's lots of talk around robustness, or you have to think about robustness. In other words, how secure and robust is that AI application or model to any adversarial attacks or any bad actors and people who might want to hack into the system for data leaks and stuff like that. You want to think about the safety of the models as well. What's the output like? Is it safe? Could it lead to further harm? Or you will also want to think about the effects that these large models could have on climate change and the amount of gas emissions that they procure. There's so many other ethical considerations that that need to be considered when using machine learning models and applications, and they're all unique to different use cases and modalities. For instance, if you're using computer vision, that's going to have a different challenge from large language models or from robotics, or predictive analysis. So again, it's really important to educate yourself. I do say knowledge is power, knowledge is wealth. I mean, I didn't come up with that statement. It's out there and everybody knows it. But with AI, especially with the advance and the increased adoption of AI across the world today, there's so many ethical considerations that are so important, not just to certain people in society, but to everyone. I would say just stop the tech bro culture, if that's possible. I think, speaking with a lot of women, and I'm one of them as well, is women feel stifled in the industry, right? The ratio has always been 70% to 30%. It's been that way for over so many years. So we have 70% male and 30% women. And we're not talking of other minority groups that fall within that 30%. So it's a major problem because that number has not really changed over time. It hasn't gone past 2%. And we have a lot of women in the field, who are really keen to stay in the field, and we need further diversity in the field anyway. But it's a misogynistic culture, it's masochistic as well. Women feel stifled, they feel they're not being supported. There's lots of talk around lack of role models and stuff like that, but then you find out that women just decide to drop out, right? A few weeks ago, I was talking to someone who said, I'm thinking of leaving the field. And I'm like, don't. But she's like, well, I had all the sexist comments from people on my team, and I do not feel supported. And that's a major problem. So I think, being aware, again, there's lots of self-awareness that needs to be done here. There's lots of emotional intelligence that needs to be applied here. Is being aware of the challenges that the other gender faces, if you're a man, or even women, right? Being aware of the challenges that women face in the industry, understanding the importance of diversity and just supporting one another, and then creating so many different programs and avenues to support this, to support women in the field, to stay within the field and attract more talent in the field is very important. And I think the start of it is just breaking that tech bro culture. Yeah, so I think first of all is to buy the book and read it, of course, because that gives some very fundamental insights into the problems that exist in the world today when it comes to AI and how to address it responsibly. I think implementation is really around having like an AI governance team, having some form of AI principles in your organization, and depending on how much human resources you have and how much time and dedication you want to apply to this. I do say responsible AI is super important because regardless of whether you care about it or not, or whether people have any form of, ethics in the organization or not, it's something that will always come back to the organization. So if you have products and applications that you want to export out of a certain country to the rest of the world, they have to be conducive and applicable to people across the world, including people from the global south. So, you don't want to put in so much resources and expenses into building a certain product or application using the AI, and it's just useful to a certain subgroup of people. That really minimizes your chances of great growth, right, and turnover. And then we also have regulation as well, who care about people and who want to make sure that AI is being done right. So, you want to make sure that your organization adheres to regulation. And of course, talking about turnover and profits, it's all tied into having a good product that is responsible and is applicable to everyone, conducive to everyone, and anyone in the world can use it or adopt it or buy it. So I think implementation is important, and the how is really written in the book, but the how is understanding different components and principles on responsible AI and deciding to dedicate human resources to work on these problems and applying it to whatever use case or applications you have in your organization. It's quite important that people are aware of the benefits of AI, and that's how I always start my conversations or my talks. It's highlighting AI for good, and that's one of the things that got me interested in the field. It's just understanding or coming to the realization that AI could potentially help cure cancer. I'm like, oh, cancer has been a long-lasting disease that has been in the world for so many years, and I can't understand why science and technology hasn't been able to break through it and understand it. And yesterday, good news, I was actually reading that there was a new research study from the University of Aberdeen, and they were working with an organization in the UK, and they did some tests, and AI was actually able to detect breast cancer with a 34% increase. And the University of Sweden has done something quite similar and got very similar results. And they're able to even beat radiologists in their results. So that's great news. And what I talk about in my talks is really the benefit of AI, how great it is. But I also want to highlight the challenges with AI and how important it is to do it right, because the problem with AI and technology is, once it's embedded and coded wrongly, right? Once programmed in an incorrect manner, it's really hard to fix. It costs more money to fix it, and the damage and impact it has on society is huge and humongous, and it's actually very hard to measure because it's gone. Once it's gone, it's gone. Once this technology has been launched and deployed, many times is used across the world because it's technology, it's software. You don't necessarily have to buy a product, a phone device, for instance, to use it. Depending on what it is, it's out there and it could be impacting people's lives either positively or negatively, but we're never able to measure it. So it's very important to be aware of the challenges and limitations with AI because they're quite huge, they're quite impactful, not just to certain people in society. It affects everyone, and it's important that we do it right now because this is the technology of today and the future, and we need to lay the foundation right. We need to make sure we have the right framework. We need to make sure we have the right foundation because future technologies are going to be built on ML. Who knows, there might be another new code that will come out tomorrow that is not machine learning, but for now that's what we're using, and it's important that we lay it right, the ground rules right, so that for future generations can build on what we have built without any anomalies. And that's basically what I talk about in my talks.